In the theology of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, there are 12 men believed to hold the highest governing authority on earth. Men sustained by millions as prophets, seers, and revelators. Men entrusted with guiding a church that teaches it alone holds restored truth in a world rushing towards collapse. But woven into that restoration is a reoccurring theme, an ending, wars, plagues, social collapse, a final sorting of the righteous and the fallen. For nearly 2 centuries, Mormonism has carried a powerful apocalyptic current, one that frames the modern world not as something to heal, but as something destined to burn away. And this is where critics raise an unsettling question. At what point does an end times religion become something darker? Some former members and religious scholars have argued that when a belief system centers obedience, sacrifice, and constant preparation for death or destruction, it can begin to resemble what they describe as a death cult. Not in the sensational sense, but in the quieter, psychological one, where fear of the end becomes a tool of control, where loyalty is tested by how willing someone is to surrender their future, their autonomy, even their lives. That tension becomes impossible to ignore when we examine modern apocalyptic texts like Visions of Glory, a book based on one man's claimed near-death experience, filled with vivid depictions of societal collapse, spiritual warfare, and mass death. Though unofficial, this book has circulated widely among certain LDS circles, sometimes shaping end times expectations more powerfully than the Book of Mormon scripture itself. And that raises another uncomfortable question. If revelation is supposed to flow from Quorum of the 12, why are private visions filling the vacuum? Or, more deeply, did the Quorum of the 12 approve or put out these visions? Today, we're examining the collision between institutionalized authority and personal apocalypse, between official doctrine and unofficial prophecy, between faith meant to guide and fear that can consume. This is an exploration of what happens when the end of the world becomes the organizing principle of religion. Because when death is framed as destiny, obedience becomes survival, and questioning becomes betrayal. And in a world always on the brink of Armageddon, someone is always deciding who lives to see the kingdom and who doesn't. And as always, a big thank you to all of our Patreon and our producers who help support us financially each month, as well as our donors over on Substack. Because of the topics that we cover on this channel, making a living off of this has been nearly impossible. So it is because of donors like you that we can continue to do the work that we do. With that being said, if you would like to help support the work we do here on Esoteric Atlanta, there is a link to our Patreon and our Substack down in the description box below. There's a reason Visions of Glory feels familiar to Latter-day Saints, because it doesn't introduce a new world. It simply turns the light down and turns the volume up on the one they already know. At its core, Visions of Glory is not a break from Mormon theology. It is Mormon theology, unfiltered, dramatized, and full of myth. The premortal world, a council in heaven, souls chosen before birth, earth as a probing ground, a veil placed over memory, and exaltation as the end goal. None of this is foreign. This is the architecture of LDS belief. What Visions of Glory does is take doctrines usually spoken in calm, correlated languages and renders them as lived experiences. Not lessons, not manuals, but visions, collapsing cities, burning systems, angels moving through chaos, a remnant prepared to survive what others cannot. This is not invention. It's amplification. Mormonism already teaches that history is moving towards a cleansing, that Zion will rise while Babylon falls, that some will be spiritually ready, but most will not. Visions of Glory simply refuses to keep that abstract. In official theology, exaltation is orderly. In Visions of Glory, it is hierarchy, and it is urgent. In doctrine, revelation is carefully mediated. In Visions of Glory, it is personal, immediate, and dangerous. But the structure remains the same. The elect are foreordained. The faithful will be preserved. Suffering is not random, it is proof. Chaos is not failure, it is refinement. This is why the book resonates so deeply. It doesn't ask believers to adopt a new worldview. It asks them to feel the one they already have. And that is precisely why it is so unsettling. Because once theology becomes myth, once belief becomes vision, authority shifts. Not away from Mormonism, but away from other institutions. Visions of Glory is Mormonism. Without the disclaimers, without the measured tone. It's the same map, just drawn in fire instead of ink. And in moments of fear, collapse, and uncertainty, people don't reach for manuals. They reach for myths. Not because myths are false, but because myths tell them who they are when the world starts ending. And Visions of Glory tells them they were chosen for exactly that moment. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. You're here today with your favorite ex-Mormon, Larene. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. I can't wait to destroy these men and some women, but mostly men. It's wild, isn't it? And you grew up with this.
It really is. It is.
I was telling somebody in my class this morning about this series that we're doing. And I was like, here in the South, most people are like Protestant, and they were like, that's wild that you're so fascinated. I'm like, listen, it is the most wacko, nefarious, magical religion that exists, and tell me more, because it is so, and I've said this about Mormons before, Mormons aren't stupid people. Like, to understand and take in the structure of a religion, you have to be highly intelligent to really grasp what the teachings are in Mormonism. And so kudos to Mormons, because this is not, and that's a question I want to ask. Larene and I wanted to ask. We're going to go over the transcripts from the Unblog My Soul reunion with John Pontius and Spencer Tom Harrison's in our part 2 of Visions of Glory breakdown. We're going to talk about the Quorum of the 12 first, because we don't have that nonsense in like mainstream.
You don't have a quorum?
We don't have a quorum.
We have lots of quorums. There are lots of quorums in Mormonism. The Quorum of the 12 is only the tip of the iceberg.
We just got some dads who are all like deacons of the church who are ready for the pastor to end church service right at noon, because we got some reservations at the country club to get to, got some whiskey to drink. So it's as we said last time, Mormonism is very interactive. I don't know if Southerners, we drink too much, I think, to be that invested. One of my friends told me today that she dated a Mormon when she was in high school, and she went to some of the ward meetings, and she said what was so different was how many kids were in there, and the actual like what we call sanctuary. Because in like mainstream church, there's a nursery for that. Like, drop your child at the nursery, please. Like, it's so different.
Yeah, well,
like,
church used to be 3 hours. That's the chapel for us. And everybody meets together for what you call sacrament meeting, where everybody is in the same area. You hear a couple talks, you sing some music, you get started. And then the second hour is where you go for Sunday school, usually, where the men and the women are together. The kids are all separated by their age groups in primary. And then the last section, the last group, is when quorums meet and the Relief Society meet. So the men and women separate and they do their own things in that third hour. Now it's only 2 hours, and they're probably going to move that down to 1, because most people are like, this is too much.
It's some bullshit. Like, we got some lunch reservations to get to. Kids got homework to do. I don't want to.
Well, it's a Sabbath, so you can't buy anything on the Sabbath.
Oh, y'all observe that.
Mm-hmm. The Sabbath is very important. I was never even allowed to go to a friend's house, talk on the phone, watch TV. When we get home from church, you can take a nap if you want, but read your scriptures, you're praying, you're doing church stuff. listening
That
to
is
church
so,
music. I
no.
lived in a very Orthodox house where those were the rules. And some people are different, but I know some people who had like a pool in their backyard, they were not allowed to swim when they got home on Sundays.
That would
Again,
not,
everybody's different. There are many layers of the orthodoxy here.
that would never fly in my area of the world. We are churches. Well, here's the thing too. I kind of been debating this. Like, the Protestant Reformation happened about 500 years ago, so we're really settled into it now. It's not that big of a deal. No one really cares. And I've wondered if Mormonism would ever get to that point. I don't know though, because Mormonism is way more interactive than like mainstream. Like, Larene, if you started going to like a mainstream church, which again, guys, I am only comparing mainstream with Mormonism because mainstream Christianity, there would be no Mormonism without mainstream Christianity. As I don't agree with any of them. However, if I had to pick, like, had to go to church, I would go back to mainstream because it's way less culty. It's way less not that big of a deal, right? Compared to what Larene lived with. And I'm laughing when so I had an appendicitis when I was 12. And I will never forget because it was like one of the most painful things I've ever been through. But the pain started on a Sunday. And the reason why I remember this, Larene, is because it was in the spring, and my grandparents were going to open up their pool. And the regular pool we went to wasn't open yet for summer, but I was so excited because after church, we were going to go, church ends at noon. Instead of going out to eat for lunch, we were going to go to my grandparents' house for lunch, eat lunch, and then my sister and I were going to get to swim in the pool. And I remember it was a Sunday because of this, because once I got to my grandparents' house, that's when my stomach started hurting. And I was hurting so bad I didn't even want to put my swimsuit on. But I remember it. So that would have never even happened for you because you weren't allowed to even go swimming on a Sunday.
Nope. We were very strict, very orthodox.
Now, do you see a lot of drinking in Mormonism? Do people drink at all? No?
No. You'll see that on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake and The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Those two shows, they do drink, but that is against the word of wisdom. So that is one of the main things that you are not supposed to do is drink or do drugs of any kind. Now, if a doctor prescribes it, that's different. You are able to take any prescriptions if a doctor prescribes it.
That would not buy my family. I laugh because in the South, everybody's got a bar in their house. And, we go, there's a graveyard we take care of up in Appalachia. And, in Appalachia, they would, I know my European viewers find this hysterically funny and weird, but this is just in the Appalachians when they were settling it, when people passed away, they just buried it. Like you'll find these random like cemeteries just in the woods. And when they build highways and buildings now, and they come upon one, they'll build around it. So some parking lots might have like a little cemetery in them. Well, there's one up in the woods where we hike a lot, and it's a family from like the 19th century, and not many people are up there. So we go up there and kind of take care of it, and we leave like stuff, because in the South, it's really common to leave trinkets on graves. And so we always leave two things. We leave whiskey and a Bible, because that's very Southern. That's very, very Southern. And I don't think in any other culture in the world would whiskey and a Bible go together, but it does in the South. And whenever we go, we leave it, and Todd and I take a shot of whiskey, and then we leave the whiskey for the family, because that's just very, very Southern. And so that would not fly. If you told a bunch of Southern people they couldn't have their whiskey, they'd be like, no thanks, we'll just stay Presbyterians. So
back in my day, we couldn't even drink caffeine. Now they push it, and there's like the swig where you make those dirty sodas, but that would have not flown back in the day. They didn't even have, I remember going to BYU when I was a teenager, and they didn't even sell caffeine on the campus.
Yeah, like no vending machines with like Coke, like that's, and I do understand, like as we go through any religion, there's going to be things that are accurate. Like there are going to be things in Mormonism that, because the darkness can't create anything, right? It just takes from the light and inverts it. And there is truth to being healthy. There is truth to treating your body, eating the right foods, but to restrict it so much, that becomes control. And authoritarian control. And so, guys, before we get into this one question, though, I know I know that on my channel it's hard because we cover so many different stories on my channel, but this is a big book, guys. We're going to be going through this for a while. Hopefully Larene will open up her channel soon to really start exposing these SOBs. But if you guys want, put it in the comment section below. Before we get into the actual chapters of Visions of Glory, we're just in the introduction right now. Do you want Larene and I to do an episode where we break down the tenets of Mormonism, what Mormons actually believe, where there's doctrinal differences between like mainstream Christianity and I'm lumping Catholicism in with Protestantism because they're very similar compared to Mormons? Like, there's some pretty big doctrinal differences. Like God, for example, is a big one. We as mainstream Christians believe that God is infinite and has never been human, has never been created, has always just been. Whereas, what do you guys believe, Larene, in Mormonism?
That is very different. Yeah, God is as man once was, and man is as God will become. So we're going to become gods one day when we get through all of everything, all the trials and tribulations, and we do all the work that is needed. You'll always hear, like there was in Lori's trial, she was talking about how she was talking to the kids, and it was just so insidious. But it's that work. They were so busy and they were working hard to help us on this side. That's what they believe. People in the spirit realm are doing work behind the scenes to help us here so that everybody can be together in the celestial kingdom or on earth when it is translated for everybody to be able to be here on earth in their new bodies. I mean, it's wild.
That's not what we're taught in mainstream Christianity. God, we believe that we're taught. I don't consider myself to have a religion anymore. I'm cool just being spiritual. I absolutely do believe in God. I believe, and that way, I believe more in the mainstream doctrinal that God is pure consciousness. God is something we really can't understand because it's Purusha, or it's a Ishvara, where Purusha, the soul, is like a part of that, but not. It's like a mirror of that. And so
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you guys believe that God is just one too? It's not God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. It's all
Trinity.
one.
Yeah, the Trinity, okay. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Yeah, we believe, they believe. And I actually lean more towards Mormonism on this one, because I actually don't believe in the way the Trinity, the way that I was raised to believe in it. I believe we're all fractals of God. We're all children of God, that Yeshua, or Jesus, for people recognize Jesus names, was more of an enlightenment's not really possible, but he was more of a teacher. I mean, they called him rabbi, right? That means teacher. Kind of like my teachers that I've had. So he kind of had a deeper understanding of the gravity of the soul. And that's what he was trying to do, was liberate people. Like he said, heaven and hell are inside of you. It's all inside of you. And so I think that got a little bit mistranslated with the Christian doctrine, but it's more nuanced because we're all kind of the Trinity in that sense, like we all are. But no, mainstream.
It's very interesting that you're saying we have heaven and hell inside of us, because they're places.
Yep.
In Mormonism, they are very distinct. Hell is outer darkness, actually, is what we called it. And that's where I'm going to go, because I'm an apostate. I had the truth and I left the truth. So I'm an apostate and I'm going to end up in outer darkness. It is a hierarchical system. And if anything is bad or negative or hurts your feelings, that anything that is, it's not really the right term of hurting your feelings, but anything that feels bad or negative, they're going to say that is Satan, no matter what. Like, that is the devil trying to get to you. So that's why you always see Mormons so happy and smiling and uplifting, because they feel truly deep down that if you are always that way, then you always have God with you, that you're always in good spirits because of God. So fighting and turmoil and all of that stuff, you want to push it away, because that's Satan.
I will say, I think there are some mainstream Christians that would kind of say that too, like, oh, Satan's trying to get to you. And my beliefs now, there are demons, Lizzies, as we call them, pet name here, Lizzies. There are, but what I tend to believe now is we are in more control of that than we think we are. And sometimes triggers are your soul's way of highlighting refinement, like where the soul needs to refine itself. I think for me, and I love Larene for you to pipe in too, because I didn't grow up in a cult like you did. Like, and I will say, my parents, even though I grew up Presbyterian, although I did learn as an adult that apparently, I didn't even know this as a kid, apparently the Presbyterians are kind of known as the wild ones of the Protestant pantheon. Like, Baptists are really fundamentalist, Methodists are just kind of like the bohemians, and then Presbyterians are known to be people like really higher level of education, which totally checks out with thinking about all the people I went to church with and my parents, like doctors, lawyers, and they're partiers. I was like, that really that does check out. Like, absolutely, my parents, my friends' parents, heavy drinkers. Very much very secular too, all Christian but secular. And I just, so I didn't grow up. I mean, I grew up like there were things that I would, that bothered me as a kid. Like, they would tell us God has unconditional love for us, but yet we were also told that if we didn't believe in him, we were going to go to hell. That's not unconditional love then. Like, there was that cognitive dissonance I picked up at a really, really young age that I don't believe. And so I think that even though Mormonism has the levels of heaven that mainstream Christianity doesn't have, there's still that us versus them, right? There's still, in both sects have that us versus them. And now I'm a little bit more relaxed, and I became that way through yoga. Like, oh, it's just the soul's evolution. There's nothing to fear. God is unconditional love. God is unconditional mercy and grace. We as human beings, though our soul understands God, our mind really can't. And most religions are just got people's opinions of God. And whether you go service to self or service to others is really your choice. And it's just a vibrational frequency, and it all eventually goes back to the one. And so, do you feel, Larene, do you feel like you have evolved in your belief in God, or where is your spirituality now? Where does it lie now?
Yes, I absolutely believe in God. I'm still grappling with who exactly that is, what it is. I remember reading the Sophia Code, and there was some interesting information there. I've found him actually in the darkest areas, which is odd
Ding, ding, ding,
because
ding,
it was
ding.
really searching for the answers to what was happening in my own life and things that were happening personally, with the trauma and the pain and everything I was feeling that I found him. And it's more of the law of one that you have talked about a lot of. I've downloaded those ebooks and I listened to them to kind of understand it. But as long as you are trying to serve other people, then that's the best way to be, and that's what God wants.
That's
And so
service to God,
Mormonism kind of has that right because they are very big into service. They are very big into helping other people, but it's almost forced where you are supposed to pay your tithing, and that's one of your services. You're supposed to clean the chapel. You're supposed to help clean the temple. You're supposed to go help your neighbor. And then you have like the home teaching or the visiting teaching, which they now call ministering. They don't call it what they used to call it. They changed their names a lot of things. But that service is good as long as you're doing it with that right heart, as long as you're not doing it by force. And Mormonism kind of forces you to do that service.
That sounds very culty the way that they do it. And I get like it's coercion. Like, if you don't clean this church, then you don't have the heart of service. There are some yoga shalas that will do stuff like that. Todd doesn't. Todd's like, it's my business. I'll clean it. My assistants are not responsible for mopping the floors. I'm responsible. It's my business. In the law of one, it's like sometimes just smiling at someone when you walk down the street is service to others. And it's genuinely coming from a place where you want to serve, where you want to be. In the law of one, too, one thing I love about it is in order to be service to others, and you see this with Lou, actually, you only have to be 51% service. You can have times when you're an asshole. Like, it's fine that because you're not you and you hit on like times of your darkest moments where that's where you have felt God the most. And I wonder if sometimes these religious leaders almost manipulate you not to go to those dark corners because they know you'll find God there. People often say, and this is just my own opinion, guys, they say that God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. I don't agree with that, actually. I think a lot of times you have things thrown on you that you technically can't handle because in that moment of breakdown, that's where you develop the wisdom. When you hit rock bottom, there's only one other direction to go. That's up. And so you find God within, you find that solitude within to go forward through the darkness, through, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Right. And so I think that when we have moments of darkness in our life, and to think you're going to get out of this world without any moments of darkness, you're kidding yourself. None of us gets out
Your
of
mind,
this world.
yeah, your mind traps you.
Yeah.
It's your mind that is trapping you. And so you need to listen to your gut and your heart and really dig in deep and don't believe everything that you think, because not
No, don't
everything you
like,
believe is true. And feelings
no.
are not facts.
Yeah, feelings are not facts. And sometimes, like, I look back in my life and my really, really hard times where I thought I was going to break. That's where I learned the most. That's where wisdom was polished, right? And then that's the law of one kind of, that's kind of the law of one's theory. And that kind of matches yoga's theory. Like, listen, your soul created this mess to refine itself. It's a polishing. It's a refinement. That's all that's going on here. And when you see it that way, like in Hinduism, they don't. Now, of course, I actually do believe in like I do believe there are demons, but in Hinduism, they talk about demons as being short for demonstrators. And sometimes our demons are our demonstrators. They're our teachers. And when you see it that way, the Lizzies aren't so scary anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Because it's
not
all
so
within
scary.
you.
Yeah, it's
And that's
all
the
within
thing. They want that outer, you need to look for somebody else for authority. You need to go within yourself. That's where you're going to find it. Don't look to anybody else for the answers, because they're never going to be right.
It's always going to fall short, because and the reason why that is because Prakriti, the earth, our bodies, our world, it's Maya. It's an illusion. It's not real. And so I do believe that from the Yoga Sutras. This is all just created chaos for our souls
That we've created.
It's all just Alan Watts used to say, it's the soul playing hide and go seek with itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's God playing hide and go seek with itself.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and that's all it is. And it's not so scary, right? When you realize at the end of the day, regardless of what your cultural beliefs are, you're going to be okay. Your soul's going to be fine. When you have that clarity, which I absolutely have that clarity, none of this theology from any religion scares me anymore. I find it fascinating, but I don't believe it, because I know at the end of the day, and I know a loving God would never do the things.
Never want me to be afraid. And that's the biggest thing for me, is dropping that fear of just exercising. I've had such a big fear of exercising because of injuries that I've dealt with and issues that I've had because of the Ehlers-Danlos that I was born with, this genetic situation that I never got fixed or I knew about. And when I started learning about it, everything makes sense. And now I can work with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful thing.
And I'm not afraid.
No, when you have, because we all have like issues in our life. Some of it's health, some of people, it's other things. When you learn not to run from it, but to like work with it and ask it, cool. All right. Hello, Ellers. What are you here to teach me? What are you here to teach me? Show me how I can work with you. Because I have invited you along this journey. I invited you to get.
I don't know why, but I did.
So come on and tell me what's going on. So yeah, the power, when you start to bring that autonomy into yourself, nothing else has power over you anymore, because you're good with God. You're good with God, because you and even the stuff you're uncertain of, like the stuff you don't quite understand, because we know we're not in the density of knowing, right? As Lou says, we're all dum-dums down here, because we don't remember, and that's okay. There's no enlightenment to be reached here, so we can just be dum-dums and just continue to live in that mystery, and that's fine. And so so you guys,
speaking of dum-dums, I do want to bring this out before I forget. Last time I mentioned the Mack family being on Emma's side, it's actually Joseph's side. Joseph's mom was Lucy Mack Smith when she got married. She came into the Smith line, but there's very
I know you've been talking to Heidi Love. We would love and crush them more. We're just getting started. And isn't it funny that because the LDS does not have a very good view of women, a lot of religions don't. Isn't it funny how many beautiful women, ex-Mormons out there?
That's why I want to work with the women. We have so much power that we don't even know, because they have toned it down. They've been trying to push it and tell us that we don't have that power. So that's why we need to go inside and find ourselves and find that power. And it's women like you and Heidi and Kresha that have given me the strength to really be able to come here and talk, because it can be very scary, but I'm
Listen,
dropping
I
that fear
admire
and
the ex-Mormon women. Like I don't have anything to lose talking about Mormonism because I don't have any family and it's not my culture. So you, Heidi, ex-Mormons that are out there speaking up, like slow round of applause. And I just love it. You can't tell me God doesn't have a sense of humor. I mean, the fact that literally, in my opinion, as a non-Mormon looking at like celestial kingdom, I'm like, oh, cool. Women get to be concubines in heaven. Like that's how I kind of see. I'm like, that's cool. You know, like obviously a man created this religion. Like,
right.
Emma didn't
Doesn't get
create
more
this.
man-made than that. Yeah.
Like, cool. I'm like, how do they sell women on this? Like, guess what? You get to be a concubine. Like, I just like, so I love the fact that all these beautiful women are going, opening these channels and being like, so here's the thing, y'all. Like, I just love it. And I think God has such a sense of humor. Joseph and probably more Brigham are rolling over. Oh no, but they're not even in their graves. They're fucking Lizzies right now. So, so they're demons right now. So
They are mad.
they are in outer darkness.
Glad.
They are not going where we're going. So let's go ahead, you guys. And again, let us know in the comment section if you would like for Larene and I to do a full breakdown of Mormon theology, the tenets of Mormonism, comparing it to mainstream, because I know most of the people did grow up mainstream, so that you have a better understanding, because there's a lot. Well, they say like high demand religions have their own vocabulary, and that's totally true, because there's a lot of words being used that even I had to underline and go look up because they were not familiar terms to me in religion. I think I don't know if I said this on air, but funny story, guys, before we get into it too. When I was reading this book, Visions of Glory, I started reading it. I kept reading about Joseph, and I kept thinking, why is Jesus's daddy being brought up? I kept forgetting about Joseph Smith because we don't have a Joseph Smith in mainstream Christianity. The only Joseph we have is Jesus's daddy. I'm like, why is Jesus's daddy so important? I was like, he's never had a starring role. Like, why is he so important? Yeah. And I was like, duh, Bryce, it's Joseph Smith. So even for me, knowing full well that I was going to sit down and do this for research, writing things down into Mormonism, I still would get this brain like a scratch on a record because I'm not used to this type of dialogue. So let me know, guys. Don't be ashamed to ask. We would be more than happy to do that for you guys, to break it all down, to give you a reference point. And also, speaking of beautiful women, before we get into this, I told you I wanted to make note of this before we got started. I think I can speak for both Larene and I that we are 100% behind. I'm gonna get emotional. I'm gonna say the Persian people, because I don't know if I can say their country name on this platform because they're trying desperately to stop information from getting out. But our heart is behind you. Keep doing what you're doing. The Persian Empire was an incredible empire, and it brought so much knowledge to our greater world as a whole, and you guys deserve to be free again. You deserve to be free. And to all the Persians who have come to the United States for asylum reasons, because they were in the resistance against the Ayatollah, I hope to God that you guys are feeling that sense of pride in your. It's a scary thing to do what the Persian people are doing right now. That's a very scary thing.
One of my favorite quotes is, "Nobody is free until everyone is free."
Love it.
Hammer. Very important woman that I can't think of right now, but
nobody.
She is that quote it resonates very deeply, and it's one of the reasons I'm talking so much, and I will be talking so much, because none of my family, I feel, not some of them have gotten out, but the ones who are still in, I don't feel like they're free. And they'll fight me on that, and they'll say that they have free agency, but in a high demand religion, you really don't. You don't have free agency. They tell you what to believe, what to do. The bite model we'll get into.
Yeah, we are definitely going to get the bite model. And so, I love that. Nobody is free if nobody's free until everyone is free.
Nobody is free until everybody is free.
And the women of Persia that have been pushed into this theocracy, I just finished reading The Stoning of Soraya M., which is based on a true story. I mean, terrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I don't know where are the activists? Where are you guys? Like, this is historical what's happening, and I am so they're risking their lives for their freedom, and that is so brave. And that's what it takes sometimes, getting uncomfortable, willing to sacrifice in order to have a better tomorrow. And so our hearts are with, if anybody knows of a good organization where we can, that's a legit organization that we can donate to help send funds to them, whatever, email me. Don't put it in the comment section. Just be careful because of what's going on with the controllers, the HR, as we said it with Crusha, the HR management of our world, the HR department of our world. Email me at esotericatlanta@gmail.com. If you know of anything, I'll look into it. And because we would love to be able to do whatever we can do to help support each other. Because again, one of my favorite quotes is, we're all just walking each other home. We're all trying to get to the celestial kingdom together without Brigham Young and Joseph Smith.
That's right. That's right.
Without being concubines.
Right. Not being one of 3 wives.
Nope. No, thank you. No, thanks.
Good.
I told you now, Larene, funny thing, you also say, you told me that in Mormonism, you believe you're all going to own your own planet one day. Mm-hmm. That would turn me off right away. I'd be like, I can't even schedule my own life properly. Why do I want to own a planet? Thank you, next. Can I decline? Like, I don't really want a planet.
Absolutely, yeah. Good.
That's like a lot of work. Like, just
being Larene is enough work. I don't need everybody else's crap.
Like, you mean I have to landscape and like, I don't even know how to mow the lawn. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't want to be responsible for that mess. That's like the biggest, like, for me, that'd be the biggest turn off of Mormonism. I'd be like, no, thank you. Do I get a housekeeper? But
if you've got that ego, that's a great thing.
Right? I'm like, do I get a housekeeper? Do I get a decorator? Because this is really stressful. Like, I don't know. So if you think bar is easy or that it's not for men, this workout is going to change your mind. I just released a brand new 60-minute Bar for Men class on Fusion Body Studio. And this is hands down one of the highest demand workouts we offer. This isn't about aesthetics. It's about strength under fatigue, control, endurance, focus, the kind of work that exposes weak links and forges real power. This class is fiery, full body, and unapologetically challenging. Leg shake, core lightens up, upper body works non-stop. And yes, your mind will want to quit before your body does. You'll need something stable, a chair, a table, or a wall. Optional props include light dumbbells, a bar ball, or a resistance band. And just so you know, the music has some explicit language. This is grown-up training. This workout was shot on location at Ashtanga Yoga Atlanta in Atlanta's historic district. And the energy is real. No filters, no fluff, just work. If it gets too intense, walk in place, breathe, then jump back in. That's part of the training, learning how to stay present under pressure. And despite the title, women can absolutely do this class too. After all, strong is strong. To kick off the new year, you can get 40% off a one-time purchase using discount code NEWU26 at checkout. But the offer ends on January 20th, 2026. All you have to do is show up, do the work, and see what happens when you stop underestimating bar. Fusion Body Studio. Train your body, train your mind. I'll see ya in class. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to share screen, Larene, because I did put into, I'm loving being able to like scour through and just get ChatGPT to give me an outline. And so I wanted to kind of use this, and then you intervene, Larene. Tell me if things are wrong or if there's more we can because this is going to be important. This gets into like my big theory of what's happening with Spencer and his visions. I don't think they're really visions. Mm-hmm. So I said, what is the Quorum of the 12 in the Latter-day Saint Church? In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS Church, the Quorum of the 12 Apostles is one of the highest governing bodies of the Church. The Quorum of the 12 is a group of 12 men believed by the LDS Church to be modern-day apostles, holding the same authority as the original 12 apostles of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. Holy shit, because Peter was a narcissistic prick, let's be honest. So it's not like these men are men you want to like emulate. And they were very, I'm sorry, the characters in the Bible are not, they all have personality disorders. Let's just be quite frank about that.
I was just about to say, aren't they all in the Bible kind of like, I don't know
They
if I
all,
want anything to do with that.
they all
I
would
don't
be
want to
like,
sacrifice my kid. I'm good.
they all would be like on toxic dating websites, like toxic men not to date. Is there anything you want to add to that, though? Is that it? They believe that they are the
That
same
is.
as like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Peter.
The thing that
That's,
really gets me with it is that they have not produced really any prophecies since, Joseph Smith's time and he had the seer stone. Why can't they use this seer stone
well, I
today?
wonder about this, though. We'll get into
Mhm.
it. And these are all just a
Yep.
speculation on our part. Like, we have no way of totally knowing the truth between the relationship between one of the Quorum of the 12 members and Tom Harrison, who is Spencer. We don't know, but we can speculate given some of the signs. So they're basically like living apostles of Christ. They are special witnesses of Jesus Christ to the world. They hold apostolic I can't speak. Priests hold authority second only to the first presidency. Now, I did ask down here because I don't know what the hell a priesthood authority means as a little Presbyterian girl. Like, I don't know what that is. What is that, Larene? What's a
The
priesthood?
priesthood is a really big deal. It's what all the men hold. Women cannot hold the priesthood. It's only the men. And they use it in a wide variety of ways. One of the main ways that I remember it being used is for blessings, where they put their hands on your head and they give you a blessing, whether it be for healing or guidance of what you should be doing next. But they're getting that discernment from God and then they're transferring it to you by giving you a blessing.
So they're
The
warlocks.
priesthood Yeah, the priesthood has powers to be able to heal and bless people, and it doesn't always work, but I wonder why that is.
Do you know what my parents would give me when I had a sore throat? What their priest hold a hottie
A hot
toddy.
toddy. Yeah, I love it. I had hot toddies without the whiskey, though. It would just be
Oh,
the
we had
water
it
and the
as
lemon and the
kids.
cayenne.
We would have it as kids. It was medicine. So
Yeah.
that was my priesthood authority. No, that's so funny. So they're like wizards. Like men are born warlocks and wizards, and women are just concubines.
When you're 12 years old, you get the first priesthood, and there are multiple levels of the priesthood also that you end up getting throughout the years. But when you're 12 years old, you start passing the sacrament. That's your first little duty. You bless and pass the sacrament. I think you pass when you're 12 to 14, and then when you're 14 to 16, you end up getting to pray over it and bless the sacrament. So really, a 12-year-old man has more authority in the church than a woman who is my age.
That's
Always.
insane. A woman literally has a portal in her body. And that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Yeah, because when I think of priesthood, I think about, like the cardinals and the bishops in the Vatican. Like, that's just crazy. Okay, so they oversee the global administration of the church, including doctrine, missionary work, temples, and church policy. So they're also the HR of the corporation, basically. When the president of the church, the main prophet, which we don't have, so that would be like, for the Catholics, that would be like the Pope, right?
Yep.
And
Exactly.
as Protestants, we don't believe in a like that. That's something I do agree with Protestantism, is that there is no such thing as a pope, and like nobody is more special to God than anybody else. That's the Protestant. That's kind of what kicked off the Protestant Reformation, was like, wait a minute, we're all equal according to God. But you guys actually take more of a Catholic. That's a little seasoning of Catholicism in there to have like a president or a main prophet, because that's like the Pope.
It's a prophet. Oh, it's also called. He's also named the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, it is. I'm sorry. The president of the Corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is actually the title. Yes, he is the CEO. Mm-hmm. And fun fact about the current president or prophet of the church and the Pope, they both come out of some training in Chicago. So just a little fun fact. You can dig down some rabbit holes if you want to there.
Your last one just went to the celestial kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. Or outer darkness. Yeah. Who is it now? Who's the new CEO?
His name is Dallin H. Oaks.
Dallin H. Oaks.
And he was a in the Supreme Court shortly after he graduated from law school.
That's weird. That's
Yeah,
suspicious.
that normally doesn't
That
happen.
takes a
I
while to get to the
actually,
Supreme Court when, yeah,
not if you're LDS royalty.
he must be a
Yeah.
prophet.
I have a book right now I'm getting ready to start. It's a very short, like 44-page book. It's The Intelligence of Dallin H. Oaks by, I met through Heidi, a man named Ben who is actually still in the church, but got some information. It's an anonymous author, but he helped put the book together. And I'm really excited to read that because it's going to open up some doors into the other things that I'm researching right now.
Very suspicious, isn't it? Very,
Hmm.
very suspicious. So he's considered the first presidency then when he becomes, I'm seeing here, and when he
He's the
dies.
prophet, and then he has the two counselors. So that's the
Oh,
presidency, is the three of them together creates the presidency.
and I
He is the
bet you,
president, he's the CEO, and then you got the board members of the three on the top, and then the quorum of the 12. And they're all considered prophets, seers, and revelators because the way they determine the next prophet is going to be whoever is in the quorum the longest. So they just lost one of the quorum members. They just put in, I believe, Elder Uchtdorf is the new one in the 12 who took the place of Holland, who just passed away. He was actually going to be the next prophet. It's all
okay.
based on time. They say it's
Interesting.
discernment, but really, when you look at it, it's who's been there the longest.
Which is it kind of it's that's kind of like Catholicism, although they go with the car they like do the burning of the smoke and stuff, but
Yep.
you can't just be some rando in like, Boise, Idaho. Like you have to like be, you know, you have to have climbed the ranks of the corporation to be even considered. So it's very interesting how much Mormonism they don't like Catholics, but there's a lot that's very similar template to
I think
Catholicism.
they're very close. They pretend that they're not, and we were always taught growing up the great and abominable church in the Book of Mormon was the Catholic Church, and they are very very close. They're a lot closer than people want them to realize that they are.
As that rings true with Protestantism too. We're taught that Catholics are like an abomination.
Yeah.
Sorry, Catholics watching. It all is an abomination. So you're not alone. But yeah, we were taught that as well, that it was not. But I think that actually goes back to the Protestant Reformation and like trauma from the Protestant Reformation too. Anyway, but so then they get the next guy, they throw him in there. Now he's the CEO. At this point, they're all fucking old anyway, so they don't even know if they know where they are.
He's, I believe, the new prophet right now is 92. He's in his 90s for sure. Yeah. And the last
Yes,
prophet lived to be about 100, but they also have the best healthcare on the planet.
they're getting the
So
Drano.
that could
As
be,
Precious says, the Drano.
yeah, the Drano. Yeah. I
Yeah.
thought about that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So okay, so that's the yeah, it says the church leadership follows seniority, not election. The first senior apostle, longest, sorry, typically comes the next president. Um, Perspective from the LDS perspective, the Quorum of the 12 represents ongoing revelation, restored priesthood authority, a continuation of basically the government. Unlike most Christian denominations that see apostles as a closed first century office. So yeah, most modern day churches don't think they're any like apostles anymore. That was done in the Bible. That's it. So I did ask when I was doing my own research, what is priesthood authority? So again, as you were saying, power delegated by God to humans, men, to perform ordinance, lead the church, and declare doctrine with divine backing. It's not earned by education or charisma. It must be conferred through a formal ritual called ordination by someone who already holds the authority. And you probably, have you seen that ritual? Do you get to see that as a girl, or is that just done for the boys?
Oh, the blessings are for everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, anytime I was sick, they also bless homes. Excuse me. Whenever you move into a new home, they'll a lot of times dedicate their new home. There's also something called a patriarchal blessing. Have you heard of that?
I've heard that word before, but I don't know what that means.
So you have the option to get one in your lifetime. You usually get it when you're a teenager, and only if you're worthy, of course. I never got one because I didn't consent to most of it. So it's like a life path. They're putting you and telling you what's going to happen. You're going to have all these kids, and you're going to do this as your profession, and there's a lot of information about what you should do. And then that blessing you carry on throughout your life, and you're supposed to carry it with you always, not let anybody else read it. Because when you do that, they start looking a little bit similar to each other. You know, you're going to marry in the temple and you're going to have lots of kids and you're going to make it to the celestial kingdom as long as you stay on the covenant path. So it's
You get to
like
be a concubine in heaven.
Yeah, it's like a horoscope for Mormons.
You know, and I do think, like, I have some friends who work in the spiritual world, and I'll have them bless some things for me. But with that being said, that I know that I can do that myself too. Like, you can also bless your home yourself too, right?
We also have our own discernment. We also have our own guts to listen to.
You don't have to do what other people tell you to do. You can do what you want to do. But that kind of gives a breakdown. And I know there's different levels here. And we can get probably deeper into that the more deeper we get into visions of glory. But I wanted again to give you guys that background because I'm suspicious. Like, we're going to get into it in this transcript from Unblog My Soul. Now, I'm going to show you guys again. I'll put this website down in the description box below. So this is the Unblog My Soul website, and it was hosted by John Pontius, who is the author of this book. He spoke to Spencer and he wrote down Spencer's story. He is no longer with us. But I found this today. Spencer's visions compared to the visions of Isaiah. That's bold for a Protestant or ex-Protestant. Someone, even for me, when I read that, I got like, oh, that's blasphemous. Like, that was my first thought, because in mainstream Christianity, you don't compare yourself to the dudes of, you know, the real house husbands of the Bible. Like, you don't compare yourself to these dudes, right? That's considered very blasphemous. But you guys, so this website's very old, because again, this is like 2012, but it was basically building Zion in our hearts and homes. It's like an event, a group. I've kept this up to, we're going to get to at some point, AVOW, another voice of warning, which is about the prepper community in Mormonism, which I think we can get deeper into as we get into the story, because there's a lot of places, Larene, when I want to go on that. So with that being said, should we get into it? Is there anything you want to say about that?
No, we can just jump right in.
So this is we're not even in the story yet. This was a transcript of an interview with John Pontius and Spencer. I don't even know why they should just put his real name in at this point, because it's come out. We know who he is. It's Tom Harrison. Didn't stay secret for long, right? So this is from September 1, 2012, Utah Valley University, Orem, Utah. Is that where Charlie Kirk?
It sure is.
Interesting.
Wow. Yep.
So that's where this took place, this talk. So Terry Pontius, she writes, on September 1, 2012, Spencer, Tom Harrison, addressed about 550 attendees at the Unblog My Soul reunion. So this is him talking to about 550 people speaking. So this was right before the release of this book.
This is the link I sent you this morning.
Oh, really?
But I haven't listened to the whole thing either, but I started listening to it. But that he said something about there being 550 people in that group. And it is, you can find
the transcript. So it's a transcript where they're interviewing Spencer. Tom Harrison is speaking publicly to this group of Mormons, basically. Now, Visions of Glory is Mormon doctrine. I know the Mormons that are still in the church are going to fight me on that, but this is why I like working with Larene, because I feel like we both bring certain strengths to this conversation and certain weaknesses. I'm never going to know what it's like to be in a temple. I don't know these vocabulary words. I don't know the culture. But different from Larene or any other ex-Mormon, I was not indoctrinated into this from an early age. That's one thing my friend said this morning, is that when she went, the church songs were very different than the old hymns. You go to a Baptist church, a Presbyterian church, a Methodist church, they're going to have the same hymns. Amazing Grace, Come Thou Fount, like very calming, soothing songs. And she was like, the songs they sing are like marching orders. Very marchy. She's like, it was very different than what I was used to in like a mainstream Protestant church.
Put Your Shoulder to the Wheel is a very popular song about work. You're always working. You put your shoulder to the wheel and you just keep going. That's why the AVOW kids are doing work on the other side, because they're supposed to. No, that's not how it works.
No, it's not how it works. So that's one thing Larene brings, is that she has that cultural experience, whereas I was never groomed into this faith. And so I can probably see patterns too that maybe, because there's probably patterns I'm not going to see in Presbyterianism, because when you're groomed into it, it becomes part of the fabric of your being. And so I think that's what makes it really powerful for us to talk about this together, because we're both picking up on things the other might not notice. But this conversation creeped me the fuck out. Like, Tom Harrison, if you see this, this is fucking creepy, dude. Like, even the book, I'm just gonna give a spoiler alert, guys. He never had a near-death experience. I was telling Larene, at the end of chapter 1, the doctor, because he had a heart attack, that's the first time, the doctor was like, no, bro, you never, like, flatlined. Like, you never technically died. And he claims, this is where the cognitive dissonance comes in, right? He claims that the doctor wouldn't admit to it because he didn't want Tom Harrison to sue him, which is quite peculiar, because isn't he doing his job if he brings you back to life? Like, isn't that what the doctor, I'm very confused by that. When my grandfather had his heart attack and had an NDE, he literally flatlined, and the doctors confirmed it. So, Tom, like, bro, buddy, you haven't had one. Like, you have not had an NDE.
Well, so they talk about the veil, which we have talked about recently, but it's very big. Like, you go through the veil, and in your final temple ritual, that you go through the veil. And he is saying that because he died and because he was able to have these experiences, it's blurred for him. And so he's able to see things that most people can't see because he has already been across the veil. So he's keeping
supports LDS doctrine.
Yeah, it's his framework. So everything is going to fit into that. Yep. His talk is very, like, the very little bit that I heard, I just hear that little singing song voice that they do to help keep this going. In
LQ, that's part of programming. So you're creepy, Tom. Like, it's creepy. It's not legitimate. It's not, most NDEs, they have are very similar. Like, people who have literal MDs, like my grandfather's was exactly like everybody else's, very peaceful, very simple. It's non-doctrinal. It's very loving experience. They don't see a lot of devastation. It's just love. But
not wars or rumors of wars.
Yeah, Tom Harrison, he is like, and I cracked up, and I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, and he kind of talks about it here. He, like, all of a sudden knows everybody's business. I mean, he's gossiping.
I don't want to know everybody's business. I
don't either. Like, that's the same thing with owning a planet. Like, I don't want that. Don't do that. I don't want to know.
Right. Yeah.
If you're not my friend or someone in my family, I don't want to know if you're having an affair. Don't burden me with that, because then when I see your husband in public, I'm going to get red in the face, and I'm not like, don't.
Well, and why do people want that? That's what I want to know. Like, why does he feel like that is a flex to be able to call these people out and say the doctor is having an affair with his nurse? And, like, I just don't understand. Why do you even want to be in everybody's business like that? But they have the priesthood and they have discernment. So even, like I said in the last one, even if I went to the bishop and was to confess something but didn't confess all the way or lied about something, he would be able to tell because he has discernment to be able to tell.
Of your autonomy. It's stripping you of your right to privacy. Everyone has a right to privacy. And if I was a betting gal, I would say they weren't having an affair. Right. This was made up by Tom. That's what, if I was this doctor nurse reading this, and I would be very offended. I mean, he didn't say their name, so they can't sue, but I would be very offended that this was written in the book, especially if it wasn't true. So it's creepy, guys. It's creepy. Let me warn you. So Spencer, or Tom Harrison, says, he starts off by saying, now remember, brothers and sisters, I am just a human being just like you. The only reason I saw these things was because I've died 3 times. And so there is nothing in me. I don't have anything up on any other human being. There are 15 prophets, seers, and revelators in Salt Lake City who have all the keys. This is just my experience. All I want to do is share my experience. I hope you might find it somewhat interesting. I feel like when people say all the time, I'm no better than you, I'm just a human being, they're literally saying I am better than you. That's,
That double speak. Yeah.
yeah. Tom, you didn't die 3 times, bro.
Or inversion.
Yeah. You didn't. Listen, we already did the math. I put it in the system. There are 7 billion people on this planet. Only 5% of the population have actually had one NDE. And you've had 3? No, brah. Nah. This
We're
is
calling you out on your bullshit.
this is psychosis. It's called psychosis. And this is what's scary is that he's a therapist.
Mm-hmm. Who in the video, like I said, I was watching earlier, says he works mainly with families and children who are addicted to pornography. That is not a thing. Like this addiction model that they are obsessed with is not real.
It's going to get into that in the book. He's going to get into alcohol, which I can't wait to ask Lou about. I have a real problem with, and there are people who struggle with alcohol for sure, for adult beverages, for sure, but not everyone does. Just because you're addicted to sugar doesn't mean that sugar should be taken from everyone. Right? I just, when you start to try to dominate other people because of your weaknesses, you are service to self. Period. End of story. Now, there's something I want to ask you about, and I don't even know how to pronounce this, Larene, because I've never heard of this before. So John then says, so in writing this book, we say several times that this is not a prophecy for the church. Yes, it is. And that it's not an attempt to study the ark. It's not scripture. I believe it is, because we're going to get to the Quorum of the 12. Again, this is double speak. It's not anything other than your experience, which you have given permission to put on paper for other people to feel the spirit of the work and perhaps sink their own Moroni and Cumber? Did I say that right?
That's a new one for me.
They say it
Moroni was the one who came to bring the plates to Joseph Smith to tell him where they were hidden. So he's saying that he can see things like Moroni?
And it has in brackets, brother of Jared. So he spells it Mahonri. Moriancumer. Let us know.
I'm gonna have to look into that one.
Let us know in the comment section, guys, because I don't. Is that something secret they tell you guys in the temple that? Because I don't. What? I mean, it makes sense if it is referring back to the angel Moroni. Then they want an experience like Joseph had, which I believe was Lizzie's, was demons, 100%. Not saying that, that's the thing I'm saying, guys. I'm not saying, I don't think, and I'm actually, be honest with you, I don't think, in my opinion, that Tom Harrison or Spitzer made this up. I think he was shown something. It wasn't an NDE, and I think it was created through the MK program, we'll say. My opinion, and it was demons, Lizzie's. That's what I think.
That is also my opinion. I completely agree.
So I'm not saying that he's lying. I think he did see this stuff. I think Joseph Smith saw this stuff. I just don't think, because they don't, talking about discernment, they never ask. Throughout this book, I have it written that they never ask and say.
Because it feels good.
Yeah.
And like the other day, service to self will make you feel good.
Feel good. Yeah.
So they think they're doing service to other, but they're not. Yeah.
They're not. And so they can say, Lord, show thyself unto me. So I'm going to skip down a little bit, guys. And right here, Terry Pontus writes, Spencer indicates that the strongest people were the first to die from the plague, not the weakest. I recently clarified this point with Spencer, Tom Harrison, and he confirmed that the strongest were indeed the first to succumb. Also, as an interesting note to readers, in this interview, Spencer describes a special meeting in the upper room of the Salt Lake Temple that occurred prior to the last conference session that he attended. This meeting was not in the original text, so I'm pleased to include it in this edition. So in his visions, guys, he's going off on these incredible, adventures where he's seeing people killed, and a complete, mayhem, bedlam is happening all over the world. And he gets pulled into secret meetings. And it's weird because as a layperson who's not Mormon reading this, in these meetings that we're going to get into it, it makes me feel like he's telling the audience that he is even more valuable than the prophet of the church, the CEO of the church. That only he was the special one that got to go into a secret meeting with Jesus. Not you. Not you. Him. This book
And
is
well, that's where he's getting his power and authority. Because once he's had that experience, now you can believe him because he's been closer to Jesus than you could ever possibly imagine. He's been right next to him, with him in the spirit realm.
that's what Lori Vallow Daybell told, I think it was her daughter-in-law, like, Jesus loves you, but he loves me more.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
Narcissistic ego.
absolutely. So, this is Spencer 2012 addresses on visions of glory. This was transcribed at from 2014. Okay, so we're in the same. So the veil is open. That's this part of the conversation. Spencer says, I am often asked, John, why do these things happen to you? Kenneth, whoever Kenneth is, said it so beautifully. God loves broken things. So that's a little self depravity just to make you see how special you are, right? And
They are so good at that. They're so good at that in
I'm
Mormonism.
so broken that God loves me more than you.
Yeah. Well, and I look back at my childhood and think about the pain I was in and the depression that I had growing up in this system. And if I would have been 20 years later and my mom had read this book, like, you know what I mean? Like, it is crazy to think about how my life could have been different. Could I have been on a scale of light and dark? I mean, according to some bishops and some people that I had talked to when I was growing up, the depression was me not doing what I was supposed to do.
You
I
would have
was
been a
doing
zombie.
something wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we're going to
Yep.
get into God. This is what's really scary and why this belief system isn't just taking lives in the Mormon religion, but it's seeping out into other areas as well, which we are going to get into. But we want to build it first. So I actually highlighted this because if Tom Harrison sees this, bro, the same. He says, as a child at birth, they looked at me, I was blue, they wrapped me in newspaper and put me in the sink, and then they went to my mother and said, your child is dead, and we have to make a hernia repair. They stuck in, and something, basically, he was born dead. I wrote in the book, I was like, yeah, and so my heart stopped when I was born, Tom. And thank God we live in America in its modern times. Because I was resuscitated, as were you.
Yeah. It's again giving him that power and authority. He was close to the veil from day one when he was born.
And some people have said to me that maybe because I have a lot of paranormal experiences, is that because my heart, and I don't know because I don't remember beforehand, but it also could be because I'm O negative. It also could be that I am open to it. There could be so many different reasons why I have paranormal experiences. It
You're
doesn't
actually
mean
doing the work and they're trying to get you to go to the other side. And yeah.
like I don't like, but it's nothing. I'm not going to write a book about it. Like, it's nothing
That makes you better than anybody else.
No, like, I don't, like, so many people have had this happen. Like, there's tons of people that have had this happen to them, like, where they had a situation when they were born, but they don't classify it as an NDE because there is no memory from, like, I don't remember it. I didn't even know about it until I was in my 20s that it happened. So I don't, and the funny thing is I have a really strong heart right now, like my heart. So that's actually ironic. It could have, and why that happened. My mother did not gain much weight with me when she was pregnant. So there could have been, there's many multiple reasons. All I'm saying is, Tom, this happens. Childbirth is messy. If we were 500 years ago, half of us wouldn't be here because a lot of times people didn't survive childbirth. So this is not a unique situation. It's just not. I'm sorry, Tom, it's not. It's not.
Happens daily in hospitals all across the world.
Sound off, nurses and OBGYNs in the comment section. That is the one form of modern medicine that I really love, is because women's life are being saved and children are living because of OBGYNs. So, he gets into it, though. We're going to get into, because I think Spencer or Tom Harrison has a lot of mommy and daddy issues that he's projecting. And I'm not a therapist, and he is. So the next part goes, God needs a prepared people. Spencer, Tom Harrison says, but there's a dark side in this life, John, and they don't want us to see, because once we see it, it's hard to close our eyes again. And I was thinking, what are these 500 people doing here tonight? You are going to see after night that we will never be the same way again, for he wants to show us things that are soon to come to pass because he needs a prepared people. And we made those promises before we came here. Father, we will go down and prepare ourselves. And with the grace of God and through that grace, he will open those things unto us. For this earth is ready, and it is prepared to move this church and these people into the next process. What does that mean, Larene? Because that's not very mainstream Christian. So what does being a prepared people mean? What does he mean when he says, Father, Heavenly Father, sent y'all, not us heathens, down to planet Earth? Like, what does this mean to prepare? Like, what does this mean?
So Mormons are the one true church. It's all leading back to that. We are the ones who are preparing the land to be able to be ready for the resurrection. So once we die, it's believed that God will come back to earth and the resurrection will happen. But we're all here to help prepare the land and prepare everything for that to happen. It's very,
It's a death cult.
yeah.
And the fact
it's a doomsday death cult.
It's a doomsday. It's like Heaven's Gate. It's like it's just different. This is way more fancy than Heaven's Gate, but it's a little bit more detail, or they with the extra mile. But now I'm going to pull up again this website, AVOW. I don't know. There we go. Preparing for tomorrow today. Another voice of warning.
Well, now, so they're also preparing for that second coming. Yeah. They're preparing for all the death and destructions. And in this interview, he talks about how there's going to be a major earthquake, and it is going to be across the Wasatch Front, which is over in Utah. And he's like, I can't go into too much detail of that here, probably because everybody in the room was from that area. So you don't want to scare them too much, but just enough to make them be a little bit scared. Yeah.
And the fact I find it very manipulative where he says, you agreed to do this before you came here. It's very manipulative. Like, you made an agreement with God. You don't know that, Spencer, Tom. Like, you don't know that.
That's what we're taught.
And
we chose our family. We chose to come into this land in this life with our families to help prepare the world to accept the gospel, which is the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they have all the answers. We're trying to prepare Zion.
Yeah, it's as he says, so this also connects to like Julie Rowe, which we'll talk about, Chad Daybell. So I'm not going to join. I'm not going to join this because I'm just not. I mean, maybe if I were a better journalist, I would join just to see more. But this is literally one of the most terrifying websites I've ever seen in my life. Our mission, AVOW, another voice of warning, is more than a simple forum for preparedness. It's a whole community dedicating to preparedness and spiritual insights. You will find a variety of topics being discussed, including camping, home canning, finance, financial preparedness, words of our living prophet, spiritual insights, and much, much more. You also find a live chat room, a variety of private and semi-private special interest groups, member photo albums, group buys, and downloaded sections with hundreds of great resources to help in your preparations. So they talk about dreams and visions. Long have prophets prophesied of dreams and visions regarding the end times. We can all receive revelation and strengthen each other's faith through sharing and pondering that revelation. This is food prepping. Todd's like a low-key prepper. Like, he's like an old school conspiracy theorist. He's not Mormon. Like, we got some rice and beans in storage. Like, that's basically it. Maybe some extra batteries. Like, that's it. Not like this. Tell us about the prepper community in the LDS, because this is what the religion is, right? Like, this is what
it's a big deal. Yeah, they have storehouses where you can go and do your own canning. So I do remember as a kid, maybe once a month or so, we'd go and we'd help can food, canned beans and rice and all of this stuff for not only ourselves. We had, a very good, and from what I can remember, I believe it was 7 years worth of food is what you want to keep on hand. And I could be wrong there, and it could be different for other families, but that's just what I remember. But you were very, very, you're pushed to make sure that you were always prepared for the last days. It is the
That's
last days, and
terrifying.
we're about to have all the wars and the rumors of wars. And that's, I think, why they push some of this stuff with Israel and all this other stuff, and why they think it's a good thing, because we're getting that much closer to Jesus coming back.
Calamity, destruction.
Hmm.
As a child, that's probably terrifying to hear
Right.
that.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to just
They
point out here this first sentence, which is factually incorrect. AVOW is more than a simple form of preparedness. It's a whole community dedicated to prayer, preparedness, and spiritual insights. Preparedness and spirituality have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
In their eyes,
Absolutely.
it does. It's everything.
It's the Mormon church, like a lot of religions, is looking for something outside of itself, being prepared, having can't. That's all part of Prakriti, the nature. The nature is an illusion anyway. Spirituality is about getting in touch with your inner world, your own spirits, making peace. In true spiritual practice, if calamity does strike, being calm inside and accepting, that's a true spiritual practice. And guys, this is the exact website where they used to have Chad Daybell. It's a scary website. We'll probably, maybe I'll join it. We'll see. They might kick me out. Just to kind of see what we can pull from it, because this is very dangerous. And I know we're building up to it, but it does get into kind of some of the truther movement as well, where we can see how perhaps you and I have talked about it off camera, that this column, this beam of the satanic religion of Mormonism is what's also supporting the truther movement. We know
Yeah.
that Lou has stated that the truther movement is satanic, pure satanic. So now we get into.
They're trying to get you to stop thinking about it all and stop being worried. They don't want you to push back, and they don't want you to talk about it like we are right now.
Yeah, to ask questions. And asking questions is not misinformation. Having questions is not being a Debbie Downer. It's asking questions. Why? Why do you think a loving God would cause calamity and cause all these people to suffer more than necessary? Why do you think this makes no sense? Like, I really like, even though there's a lot with education that is wrong, I do like when school systems do comparative religion, because I think it gives kids insight into different cultures, which makes them kind of start looking at their own belief system in a discriminative way. And that's not a bad thing. That's a healthy thing. That's how a lot of our ancestors got out of bondage from past religions, was because they, wait a minute, this doesn't seem, I mean, listen, it's necessary. Well, he said this is interesting. So Spencer goes on, when glorified beings come, he says, I wrote this in capital letters. If 1,000 years from now somebody sees my notes in my book, they'll be like, what was this girl writing? I was like, this. And I'm writing snarky comments like beside my notes. They're probably like, what the fuck? It's not very academic. Spencer says, one of my experience, I was able to see, well, first there was a guy that came while I was clinically dead. That's a lie. He wasn't clinically dead. We're going to see that later on the book. The doctor said, no, that never happened. He wasn't clinically dead. He said he had some things to show me. When you're dead and this glorious heavenly being comes to you, there is a fascinating thing we find out about glorious heavenly beings when they come to you. But bro, you weren't dead. The doctor has stated you were not. You were having a hallucination. And I don't think it was your fault. As much as you drive me crazy, and as much as I think you have mommy and daddy issues, and as much as I actually do think you're showing signs of a covert narcissist,
Or MK.
yeah, exactly. I actually do think you saw this, but it's not. Anyway, he says, I want you to think of Joseph in that room in New York. That's the first time I was like, what was Jesus' daddy be in New York? When was Jesus' daddy up in New York? Because I didn't even think about Joseph Smith. I want you to think of Joseph in that room in New York. What did he see first? He saw a light, and that light continued to grow until he saw Moroni standing in the light. This is how glorified beings come. You know who can also be a glorified being? A demon. Lizzie's. Angels and demons they're both like angelic. They're both from that realm of being. Demons have just as much power as angels do. Demons can mimic an angel. What did Lou tell us?
They're going to try to make you feel good.
Exactly. And what did Lou tell us? And the Bible that says is accurate in the Bible? What's the first thing like Michael and Gabriel said when they appeared? Don't be afraid.
Mm.
They don't, but when these glorious, glorified beings come and it's like, ta-da, you're overcome with awe. But when a good being comes, it feels like fear is the first thing people fear, or people feel. Whereas ego is the first thing people feel when they see a Lizzie. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that fear. It all comes back to that fear and control.
Yep, and I'm better than you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I also in the beginning of the book, again, we talked about this last episode, guys. Mormonism is, its genesis is Joseph Smith having this vision. It's based off of him having a vision. So this is very important to the Mormon faith, right? That this idea of visions. So
Very important.
it
He went to
real
go into a garden or into the woods because he was going to church. It was a 14-year-old kid and said, I don't believe any of these churches are true. Please tell me which one is. And depending on which version you read, because there are a couple different versions, and most Mormons do not know that either. But there are a couple different versions. But the one that they stick with is that two heavenly beings came down and told Joseph Smith, you should join none of these churches and you should start your own. And then later Moroni came to him to show him where the Book of Mormon was. So they are very, very important until like Joseph Smith, when he started getting other people who were starting to see visions that he didn't quite agree with, then it was like, well, as long as the prophets agree. So this is where it gets really sticky today, because they still want you to have that personal revelation, but at the same time, it has to fall in line with what they say. And if it doesn't, then you're wrong. They're not. They're
it
never
has to
going to
be
be wrong.
approved. It has to be state approved. It's censorship.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh, it's all censorship. They don't want you to read anything that is not church approved. So that's
a
why when I
cult.
do a lot of my dives into this, I will be going straight to the LDS website to show you exactly where it says what is going on, because it comes straight from them. They
Yeah.
have to tell you what they're doing, and they
Yeah.
often do. You just need to know where to look.
Yeah. Well, it's like the whole, when I first found out that the church comes from Kirk, which comes from a demon's name in Greek mythology, a demon that hypnotizes you and then feeds off your soul.
Kirk?
Kirk. Yeah, like Charlie.
I mean,
Yeah, that was the last
that's
name.
what I thought of, because a lot of the times, like, there were, like, Heidi was one who was saying she wasn't going to post anything about it. And she didn't for a couple weeks because she didn't want to feed that energy.
Yeah.
I am trying not to watch like any of Candace's stuff right after she posts it, because I don't want to feed that energy. I'm not going to watch it live. I'm not going to feed that energy live.
Yeah.
I'm going to go look at it later and use my own discernment to figure out what she is saying and what's going on.
I never watch things live because I'm a dork and I'm never up at the right time and well, even Erica Kirk, like when during Charlie's memorial service, we had just come off of like a 10-mile hike. We were exhausted and we got to the hotel room. We turned, because there was no internet, so we just had cable. We turned it on and immediately Todd was like, turn it off. This is a black magic spell. Turn it off, turn it on. You could tell. And so they do hide in plain sight. So even for mainstream Christianity to call it a church instead of a temple, they're telling you it's a demon. You're doing something demonic. It's hypnotizing you. It's feeding your soul. And in fairness to them, it's not their fault that you didn't. You have free will. You have the power to figure this out. And you didn't. And so they are right. Like, they are, in that sense, they are right. That if there's a little disclaimer on the LDS website that says something, but you didn't see it, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Not there.
Exactly.
They were transparent. It's not there. And so, yeah. The next section, they go through portals, which I find it so fucking funny that the Mormons are so obsessed with portals. I don't know why I find that funny. It is so wild to me. I'm like, this is like the show Charmed. You were Charmed in the early 2000s with like the witch sisters?
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't, I mean, that's not really a big Mormon thing either. It was not growing up for me. I mean, visions, yes, people coming down, but it was never a portal. So this is a little bit off of the mainstream beaten path. It's that cult within a cult.
You too can have a portal in your closet. if you just do
Right.
what the glory tells you to do. I don't like my closet. It's hard to clean. Like, I don't need a portal. It's fine. um, so Spencer says, when this heavenly being came to me and I was able to then move through the portal, I was in the portal with him and I turned to him and I said, this is really familiar to me. And he smiled and I said, this feels as familiar to me as my right hand. John Pontius says, you're talking about a classic tunnel of light. Spencer says, I am moving through the portal. I'm going through the portal. And I said, this feels as familiar to me as my right hand. And he said, it should, because you came here, you built it, you manufactured it. I mean, listen, when my grandfather walked into the tunnel of light, because John is like, are you talking about a tunnel of light? Now, Spencer doesn't say yes. He just says it's a portal. My grandfather never referred to it as a portal when he talked about the light he walked into. And that is common, you see. I feel like Spencer took that from other near-death experiences. Because other near-death experiences are very similar. They see the scene of the accident or wherever they lost their life. They go into a light. They meet a being that tells them to go back. That's what happens. That's what happens to light. Very simple, very peaceful. My grandfather said it's a light you can't really describe to us. My grandfather didn't say it felt familiar to him at all. In fact, the way that he talked about it, it seemed like it was a new experience. So
it's interesting.
The fact that Spencer's saying he helped build the tunnel of light. How'd you do that, Spencer? Bippity boppity boo? Like,
he's a saint. He's just great and can do anything.
How did you do that? Tell me. I want to know how to build a tunnel of light. That would be a really cool party trick. Is it like what they do at Disney World? They throw the fireworks off and like tell us your secret.
Or when Erica comes on stage.
Exactly, right? When Erica, is that what she's doing? Is she building a portal? Like, tell us your secrets, bro. Like,
yeah.
That's pretty wild. I mean, I've done some pretty cool things, but I've never built a portal before. So, So, he says, Christ is the great revealer, visions of things present, past, and future. And Spencer says, I saw the earth for a moment in its glorified state and saw it fall. And then I was able to see myself, because when we are in the presence of God and we are in the presence of Father and Son, we have, again, a Moroni Kumar experience. Moroni Kumar had 16 stones that he molded out of rock. He took them to the Lord and said, you told me to make these ships that are tight like a dish, and I don't want my people to travel almost a year across these water into darkness. Will you please touch these stones? And he's talking about something from Doctrine and Covenants. He says, now remember that when you're in the presence of God, what you see is as you are seen, and what you know is as you are known, having the fullness. How does God see us? As we are, as we were, and as we will become. That is not taught in mainstream Christianity, and that is not taught in Eastern philosophy, because as you are in body is not as you are in soul. God doesn't see us in body. Even Lou talks about that. He doesn't see us in body. He sees us as light.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah. For all these things before him as one of eternal now, when you see the earth as you see it as it was and as it will become. Now, I put in my notes, he said, I saw the earth for a moment in its glorified state and then saw it fall. And I said, no, this is nature. It follows a cycle. And so this also comes a birth, life, death cycle. That's Prakriti, like beginning, middle, end. In Hinduism, they have like 4 cycles of life. We're in Kali Yuga right now, which is like the most destructive, but after it's over, you come into a new beginning. It's like the seasons, right? Like winter, spring, summer, fall. Nothing new is under the sun. Nothing new. And I want to say too, hopefully this won't into it so people aren't so scared, because we really don't know. I think the apocalypse has already happened, but that's a story for another day. But as far as like a great cleansing or a great like reboot or whatever people, we don't know when that's going to happen. Like, and I know it feels like right now there are signs that it's happening. However, I would beg you to consider that there have been many times in history where they thought that it was happening. I think I sent it to you. There's this great podcast I watched about the Middle Ages and how the Middle Ages, the medieval time, they were obsessed with the apocalypse. Obsessed. And for them, what was going on in their world was way more convincing that there was apocalypse than what's going on in ours.
Mm-hmm.
So this obsession with the end of the world, it's nothing new.
Everyone's trying to figure it out. We're all
Yeah.
just walking each other home, but
Right.
we need to do it without the fear and without the turmoil that has been pushed down our throats for so long.
Que sera, sera. Like whatever is going to happen is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The true spirituality is, can you be at peace with that? Can you be at peace with not having that control? And knowing that your body is important for the ride you're on now, but it's not your eternal body. Never has been, never will be. Who you
And
are.
we're so used to getting that authority from somebody else in Mormonism. Somebody else is giving us that. We have 15 prophets, seers, and revelators who are going to give us all of that. Just like they told us to get that, you know what? You know I was trying to tell my mom, like, please don't get that. Please. But she was like, well, the prophet said it's okay, so I'm going to listen to him.
So you hand
And
over your autonomy.
yep, your authority to somebody else.
There were some churches that said Jesus would have done it, and I was like, Jesus walked on water and multiplied food. I don't think he needed it.
Right.
Like, don't think he needed it. Like, I just
No.
don't think so, brah. Come on, try again. And this is a fundamental difference between really most Abrahamic religions, which now are very Western, and like the Eastern, because Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world. And so we have to give some value to like the Vedic text. And that to me, like when I learned that and started like really pondering that in yoga about the nature and the soul, at first it's scary, but then there's almost like this peace because this isn't forever. This too shall pass. You've had many lives in different bodies, different races, different families, different blood types, different health issues. And they've
So,
passed.
and what will you do with it?
Yeah. And this isn't forever. It's not you don't want to be in the same body forever, right? I want to try new things, right? Like, you
Right.
know, I wrote here sounds like sacrifice. So I'm gonna read from the
Mm.
section staying with the earth. We are going to do something on like the blood atonements that they do in Mormonism. So Spencer says, brothers and sisters, it is our job to stay with this earth and to stay with the prophet and to stay with Christ, not in that order. If we do, this earth, as it is transformed into the terrestrial and celestial state, will glorify us, for we are part and parcel of it. We are of that same structure, for it was created by the Son through the Father. And so were we. If we stay with the earth, we will be glorified. And that is what is about to take place on this planet. Now, I want to say something again that totally contradicts what I believe to be really true spiritual theory, because Hinduism and the Eastern philosophy really focuses on the soul. Your body is of this earth. That's why when you pass away, the body is returned to the earth. Your soul is not of this earth. As Lou
And
says,
it's,
star seeds.
yeah, it's all combined for them. Like, I am Larene here on earth, but I am also Larene in the spirit realm. That's just who I am.
And that's what Patanjali says causes the greatest suffering for man is that we confuse our ego, our false sense of self, for our actual sense of self. Our ego, our false sense of self could be with a lowercase s, and our soul would be with an uppercase s. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing I would have a question for Spencer, like, how is the earth going to be celestial? Like, because the soul doesn't have a beginning, middle, or end. The soul is eternal. How would you make something that is nature by its very nature, so by its very nature has seasons, has biology, like how would you make that? You can't. The two are not the same.
When you start believing that false idea and everything else stems off of that, you can believe anything.
Right. And when there is birth, life, and death, those patternings, you're never gonna let go of like jealousy, betrayal, anger. Because every fear, every shadow can be traced back to the fear of mortality. Right. And if you're in a body, it's not immortal. You're never going to be in an immortal body. Like that's never going to happen. So like think about the legends of vampires even. well, I don't know if they're actually legends, but if you're new here, you might be like, what did she just say? That's a story for a different day. Not sure that those are actually legends, but anyway, we'll get back to that. That's a different story. But
Drano,
like they have to do things to maintain immortality, don't they? They're not just immortal. They have to do certain things because even in being undead, they still have to follow the laws of Prakriti and maintain the cycle of life. If I quit eating and quit drinking water right now, I wouldn't last that long because the human body needs that function of a cycle. You take in energy, you expel energy. You take in energy, that is just how it goes. And if I stop that, then this stops. This cycle stops. My body cycle stops. So even with like vampires who are supposedly immortal, we all know the legends, they have to take in Drano in order to continue to live. So even they're not in that state of releasing themselves from Prakriti. They can't be in the sun. They can't so there is you can't have mortality and immortality at the same time. You can't. Doesn't work that way because the mortal life is a delusion we created to play hide and go seek with ourselves. Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
It's not real. It's a playground. Real is the soul. That is none of this. So, yeah, let us know, guys, if that doesn't make sense. Now, I put here I highlighted this. For it is almost finished with this celestial process and will be moving shortly into that which is terrestrial. What the fuck does that mean, Larene? What is
I'm confused about that too. Well, the levels of heaven.
Okay.
You've got the telestial, the terrestrial, and the celestial, or the terrestrial, telestial, celestial. So heaven will be earth. We're going to be back. We're going to be resurrected in our bodies, and we'll have our bodies in the resurrection and live forever in our bodies.
When do we get
on the new
planet?
Earth?
When do we leave Earth and get our own planet? When does that happen?
That's a good question.
What's the next step?
So you can't ask questions. You just have to say, okay.
Cool. Is that when I'm a concubine too? Like,
yeah.
Who are my harem sisters? Do we get pretty jewels? That's so wild because we believe
like even in death they bury in the temple clothes so that when they're resurrected, they're in their temple clothes.
Listen to me, family members. I want to be cremated, but if somebody steps in and buries me, if you put a fucking bra on me, I will haunt the shit out of you. I will not go into the light. I will stay here and I will wander this earth as a disincarnate spirit fucking with you. Do not. Please cremate me, but if that doesn't happen, if someone steps in, no bra.
I think they've loosened up on the cremation. I think you're allowed to do that now, but back when I was growing up, that was a big no-no. Because it would be that much harder to get your body back together if you're cremated.
Because God in Mormonism was a man once, and in Christianity that wouldn't be a problem for God because God's consciousness, right?
Right.
Yeah. Sky Daddy.
Yeah.
Oh, Sky Daddy.
Who's kind of an asshole.
Right? So it's like Old Testament God. Kind of a douchebag.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure it's Lucifer, if we're going to be
the real God of light. I love this. And I always come back to this because the real God of light would never require a blood sacrifice. And once you understand that, everything else kind of starts to fall into place.
Right. Never. That's why, we know the real Yahshua was not crucified. We know that. They're following the Mithra story, which is another death cult. But that's, again, a topic for another day. For the Borgias.
With the picture.
That's Cesare Borgia, the hot one. Jesus, the pictures of Jesus, he is kind of hot. Like, there's a legend behind that. That's not what he looked like. For those who are new to my channel, like, you're going so hard at Mormonism. What about the other churches? Check out my other videos. I've got like 1,000 videos. Half of them are me going at the mainstream Christian church. So we're equal opportunity here on this channel. We go after all of them.
We just like them all the same.
All of them. We go after, because they're all leading up to the same pinnacle of power, right? Okay, so then he says, then we moved into terrestrial structure, and then we were glorified with it. Then of that earth cannot then that of the earth cannot touch us anymore. It can't touch us, but we're still living on it. Double speak again. It's very gaslighty. It's very confusing, isn't it? I'm like, Spencer, did you gaslight yourself there, my friend? Because I've done that before. I have gaslit myself before. So I think we all do that from time to time. There's been plenty of boys in my past before Todd that I totally gaslit myself, that all those red flags were just celebration flags. They were just banners of celebration. They were just adding color. They weren't bad signs. And we've all done that. We've all gaslit ourselves. I think you did. I think you, Spencer, Tom Harrison. I think you totally. All right. So he says, remember when you go to those temples, those ordinances are not celestial, even though you're doing them on the earth. So they are, buddy. They are terrestrial and celestial. Every time you go into the temple, first it bathes our feet like Ezekiel saw. Then it goes to our ankles. Then it goes up to our waist. Then it goes up to our chest. And pretty soon it goes all the way over your head. And then it transforms us. For in it has the capacity to bring the church and all of its people, all the church of the firstborn, all the church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that which was given to the Father. So it's appropriate terrestrial and celestial state. And then the millennium will take place. And that whole idea of it covering you, I put that actually to me as a layperson sounds like a sacrifice. It sounds like you're sacrificing your physical body, which is what Heaven's Gate did. It's what Jonestown did. He's talking metaphorically, but when does metaphor become actual practice?
Yeah.
What is the Church of the Firstborn? Can you tell us for our audience before we move on, just so, because that was big in the Daybell trial too.
Yeah, so Church of the Firstborn, I still need to do a lot of research, and it's been a little while since I looked at it, but it goes back to the very start of the church. That is one of the names I think that they were maybe going to use, or it's a spin-off of the LDS church. Like I said, I really need to do some more research, but it's basically your firstborn should be sacrificed for the greater good.
That is big in...
that is the basis of it.
That's the worship of Moloch.
Mm-hmm.
That's the literal worship of Moloch. You said the god Moloch was a Canaanite god that you burned children for.
And look what happened. Because people believed this crap.
Yep. And just so the crunchy Christians know, Yahweh is Moloch. Yahweh is Moloch. Because a lot of the crunchy Christians who think of themselves as hippie Christians like to call God Yahweh. That's Moloch. That's Moloch. Read the missing books of the Bible. There's a lot of interesting information in there. To the JWs, Jehovah is also a demon. That's in one of the missing books of Moses. And if you read the Lesser Kings of Solomon, which I think a lot of Mormonism actually takes from that, whether the Mormons know it or not, I think they're taking from some of the Lesser Keys with their magic rituals. Well, I've just got a few more notes here, guys. Actually, we'll sum it up because a lot of this stuff is gonna go into the actual book. But I wrote sick. At one point he talks about what's happening when things are changing, when the apocalypse, Armageddon is upon us. He says they lose their structures. This is a warring celestial structure. They want to fight as hard as they can to maintain it. But once Christ comes back and calls it his, and we move forward in that process, the division is grand. He says, verbatim, it's amazing. The war does not stop. The war will maintain itself because those who are attached to it are as much or more attached to it as we are to the earth's celestial formation. The division becomes broader and stronger. So he's talking about how glorifying it is to watch us be completely ripped apart. I wrote sick. This is fucking sick.
It is.
That you would
and
find
it's scary.
And watching other people suffer because they didn't believe in the same doctrine you believe in. That is sick. And if anybody is attached to the earth, it's the Mormons because they think that instead of accepting the soul isn't the body, so the other people you see going away might be just going away because they're actually going to a better place with their soul because you decided to stay here on earth. Just another perspective, Spencer. And actually, mainstream Christians with Armageddon, they don't believe that the Earth will change. They just believe the Earth will just go. Yeah, I don't want to say the B word, but we'll just you guys know, like it'll be like a pinata, like basically, and it'll just cease to be. So, and right here I put manipulative. Because he says, because you have sown good, sown righteousness, if your heart is full of love for the Savior and you desire to serve him and stay with the church and the prophet, that changes us, that is full on spiritual manipulation. Full on. Full stop. Because you have done this. And if you continue to do this, then the other people of the world will be saved. That's manipulation.
It's always us versus them. And we have the truth. They do not. We are better. They are not. Always.
You better stay in line.
Mm-hmm.
Or else you're going to go with Larene to outer darkness and you don't get to be a concubine in heaven. Shucks.
Right. I feel like outer darkness is just going to be fun.
Yeah,
we're just going to have fun.
Mick Jagger will
be
like
coming
there.
Here. We're going to be we're going to be blind and not really know what's going on. And
we'll have Bon Jovi, Mick Jagger. We'll have good music. It's fine. All the fun people are going to be in outer darkness. So we'll probably have some whiskey, and shucks, we don't have to be a concubine. All right. So let's see here. Any more notes I want to go through before? So he keeps repeating about there are 15 prophets and seers and revelators, and they have all the key. He talks about trying, and we're going to get into this too in the book. He talks about trying to get back in his body, and it hurts. Never heard that from any person with a near-death experience. So he also talks about the trees and the rocks, how they're really excited that man is using them. And I even highlighted they are really pleased that are still being used for man. And we're going to go deeper into this. And I wrote, this speaks of an enslavement system. This speaks of an enslavement system. Not all the trees are there to serve you, Spencer. And a lot of Christians have this wrong, because in the Bible, when it says that we have dominion over the earth, that does not mean that we can abuse it. That means we are here to protect it, to protect the animals. There's one, I think it was a cow, that talks about how the cow was so, just felt so glorified to be its skins to be used for humans. Can we say Satanism?
Yeah.
So I even wrote here, so we goes into a section called All Things Testify. John Pontius says, talk to us a little bit about if an object is used for evil, how it records those violations. Spencer says, I went into one office, and we're going to get deeper into this. It was the office of a surgeon in this facility where I was having this procedure and had a cardiac arrest and a respiratory arrest. He used his office for very inappropriate things. And right when I went in, the office spoke to me of what took place then. The nurse that was attending me, I knew immediately all about her life, that she had boys at home. She had recently been divorced, and she was having a relationship with one of the doctors who ended up being on call and shot my heart with the medicine to revive it. It was an amazing experience to know about everyone in that room. And I wrote in the comics, I know it's coming with like dark and light souls. And I said, no, this does not happen. You do not have the ability to label dark or light souls. You don't have.
Nobody has the ability to do that. It is all within ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't know what people's karmas are. You don't know the journey somebody is on. And I mean, Lou even says he doesn't want us try to diagnose OPs. Like, if somebody isn't right for you, then you just do what you need to do to remove yourself from the situation. You don't judge whether they're dark or they're light. And this is what gets into Chad Daybell, Lori Daybell, and we can do like one. Let me know if you need to go, Larene, if there's an emergency. I know we got a lot of mamas on this channel, and this is long, guys. We can even do because there's so much in here, you guys. We can even do a part 2 on the because every note I see, I'm like, no, I got to talk about this because this is so fucked up. Like, I'm like, this is so creepy. They love themselves. Let me just say, like, listen. If I could have the confidence of Tom Harrison, aka Spencer, I would be a lot more successful. I do admire his level of delusion. Like his level of delusion is super admirable.
Yes, that is, yes, so true. And I love how you put on one of the outlines that you sent, the LDS leadership emphasizes relation or revelation within priesthood order. Visions of glory and elevates individual mystical experience, sometimes blurring that boundary. Like it is the same, like they have this authority over everybody. And like we were talking about in the beginning, it's individual. You need to look within yourself. Don't look for anybody else for the answers.
Right. Do you know who else has total authority over everybody else? The Ayatollah. I think I can say it now. We're deep enough in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
How is it different? How is it different? Americans are just lucky because of the Constitution. They can't get away with becoming the Ayatollah. But I think, not just Mormons, but I think there's many religions that if they could, they would.
They're trying.
They're trying.
They're really trying.
Talk about the New World Order. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can actually, guys, we can continue next week with the war continues, yielding to the forces of evil. I do also want to say, though, on the rocks and the trees, they also talk about how they spy on us, which is to report back to God. It's like Elf on the Shelf.
Like that priesthood authority. They have that discernment and they look after you and tell you, yeah,
They're
how it should be.
bitches. Like, at least I can admit I'm a Snoopy bitch. Like, at least I can admit that I'm nosy, and that's why I read the Book of Mormon, because I just want to know what people think. Like, they got to make it
They used to
spiritual.
they used to put like excommunications in like their newsletters back in the beginning. And like when people were on disciplinary councils, now they just brush it under the rug and pretend it's not happening. But
They want to join a Mormon war just for the drama of it all. Like, I love reality TV. I think that would be, I just go every week about popcorn and be like, who's excommunicated? Like, what do they do? Like, tell me the details. Like,
yeah, they don't tell you anymore. Now they try to keep it quiet and make sure you don't find out. But
we don't excommunicate in the Presbyterian Church. I mean, otherwise I would have been excommunicated a long time ago. They don't give a shit. But I will say, I've talked about before, it's like the church ladies when they have their prayer circles in the Protestant churches. It's like a newsletter. Like they meet at each other's houses once a week to pray for people in the community, and that's how they gossip. That's how they gossip, is through prayer. We should pray for her. Bless Spencer's heart. We should pray for her heart. Bless her heart. We should pray for him. But the fact, so this is my thing though, and I wrote that they talks about how the trees and the rocks like report, like Elf on the Shelf, like report back to God to let you know if you've been good or bad. But I thought, Larene, that Spencer said when you're in spirit form, you already know everything anyway.
Right. He's got to have it both ways.
So why are the rocks needing to be your like Elf on the Shelf? Like, why are they God's soldiers if God already knows anyway? Because I'm so confused, Spencer. You're
not supposed to critically think about it. You're just supposed to listen and say, okay. And then if it doesn't make sense, you give yourself a thought stopping technique and you shut it down and you don't ask any questions and you just say, okay, God will figure it out when we're dead. He has all the answers and it'll all be okay.
To the higher ups, the bigwigs of the Mormon Church, the highest IQ on record is that of a woman.
I love that.
Whoops-a-daisy. Love that for them. Love that for them. So you've got a lot of naughty women that are going, but this doesn't, you just contradicted yourself. Like, literally. I have a feeling if you were alive with Joseph Smith was probably a walking contradiction too, which is why I'm so obsessed with him. It's kind of like the Borgias. Like, I'm obsessed with the Borgias too. Would never want to live in the same time period as them. Don't get me wrong, I'd be scared of them. But they're so fascinating because they're so evil. I think Brigham Young is Borgia style evil. I think Joseph is just a charismatic asshole that just was able to charm his way. I think I heard Heidi Love say this too in one of the episodes you sent me, where she said, gun to head, Brigham Young or Joseph Smith. I think most people are going to go with Joseph Smith.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think you could probably stroke Joseph Smith's ego and he'd let you go, but Brigham is like super evil, like super.
I think he really put the chains on it.
Yeah.
Like Joseph Smith brought the magical aspect to it. Didn't really, and they could have been talking about the magical aspect in it back in the 1800s. It was a completely different time than it is today.
Yeah.
But he really came in and put the chains on everybody and made that control, put that control in place.
Yeah, it's the mind, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, but it's kind of a modern slang. When I think of Joseph Smith, the word that comes, the phrase that comes to mind is fuckboy. Like that's he just seems like a fuckboy. Like that's just kind of where again,
Yeah.
I think as manipulative as Joseph was, I think you could manipulate him just as easily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, he fell for a lot, I'm sure.
I mean, but Brigham was a totally different. I think polygamy was brought into the issue with Joseph because he got caught having affairs. Like honestly, that as a layperson, that's my perspective. Like how it's like Laura Knight with the Cassiopeians. Like every vice she has, all of a sudden becomes like a holy tenet. I think it was kind of the same with Joseph. Like he got caught rolling in the hay with some mistress. I mean, I'm not gonna say that because she was underage. Like, you know. And I know people give excuses. It was a different time in history. Yes, it was. Unfortunately, back then women did birth a lot younger than they do now, but it was still inappropriate. Like it was still
Right. And it was still kids with the same age. Like, even if they did get married at 16, you were usually marrying another 16-year-old.
not a
It
35-year-old.
wasn't different in the time where their 14-year-old was with the 35-year-old. That
Yeah.
was never okay. And that's why they got driven out. That's why Mormons have a persecution complex right now, because they were pushed out of so many places, although they don't know really why they were pushed out. We were taught, I was taught growing up, that it's because we had the truth and the evil didn't want that truth to get out there. So that's why we're persecuted. But it was actually because of the shenanigans that they were doing, pushing people out of their homes, out of their communities, Mountains Meadows Massacre. There's a lot of things that happened.
I actually, that's interesting you bring that up because that is a show I want to eventually do with you one day. When you go and search like LDS history, like if you want to watch a documentary, unfortunately and fortunately for research purposes, it's mostly LDS produced. And so it
Mm-hmm.
makes it seem like they're just a bunch of innocent people that are not doing any harm. They just want to practice their religion. They're not bothering the townspeople, and the townspeople seek vengeance upon them. Well, again, I know this is a different time. I do want to clarify. Larene and I are both very aware that this is a different century. History is like a foreign country. They do things differently there. But nonetheless, it's not that far removed from where we are today. And most Americans, especially in small town America, are really kind people and don't really bother with, if you're not bothering them, they're not going to bother you. Right. And
Right.
I believe because at this point we're coming off of the American Revolution. Oh shit, we won. We didn't think we were going to win. Now what are we going to do? Now we got to create this constitution. Then we have this reviving of religion trying because now we don't have a state-run religion because so people are trying to, so there was like confusion everywhere in the country about this. So but because we had freedom of religion and the constitution was so fresh, I really don't think that the regular folk of Illinois or wherever, all the places they got pushed out, would have really cared. They might have thought it was weird, but I don't know if they would have been so I wanted to ask, like, what were, and I'm not, when I say the Mormons, I don't mean the regular flock. I think, like most things, the regular people that just fell for the propaganda were probably good people and weren't bothering anybody and were just trying to live their lives. So,
Same with most Mormons today. And I want to clarify that most Mormons today are really good people.
absolutely, absolutely, they're not. They'd be horrified to know
Mm-hmm.
the truth. I mean, if you took cognitive dissonance out of it and they were able to accept the truth, they'd be horrified.
Right.
So my question is, what were the higher ups? What was Joseph Smith doing? What were his cronies doing in these towns? That was dry. I mean, that you don't get tarred and feathered for being a great guy.
Or almost castrated. They were put in jail. The reason that they ended up going to jail was for burning down a printing press that was
Just printing the
talking
truth.
about
Yep.
some of the things that were happening when the Mormons came into town. Part of that was polygamy. They were sending the men off to go on missions and then taking those wives
Yep.
to be plural wives for themselves. They were doing horrific things. They were doing blood sacrifices. That was very, very common back in the day. They were doing all sorts of nefarious things. And the people were like, no, not here.
These
We're not having it.
towns, it couldn't have been, Larene, it couldn't have been just one thing that was bad. There had to have been like multiple things that are literally breaking laws and literally.
And he went to court multiple times. Joseph Smith, it's very documented that he had multiple court appearances for all of his crap.
And like for a country that's just won its freedom, we're talking like coming to the mid 19th century, so we're less than 100 years away. Most people have a very imprinted memory of the revolution from grandparents or parents. I think even Joseph's like grandfather was in the American Revolution. It's still imprinted in our blood 250 years later, even more so then. Freedom of the press, freedom of speech, like to burn down, to try to destroy a newspaper for giving unfavorable criticism is very anti-American. Still is, but back then we were just fresh off the heels. That's very anti-American. We have freedom of the press. We have freedom of speech. And the fact that he could handle that, just like certain political figures today, speaks volumes. But back then, the people were a little bit more justice oriented, I think, and they took matters into their own hands. And that, unfortunately, his antics are what he has no one to blame but himself for his life ending early.
Absolutely. Yep. It was all his fault. Everything he did.
You can't act like a fool and do criminal things to people. And Emma, my heart goes out to Emma. I'm very fascinated by her. Women still, we're still building up to women in America still didn't have like the right to vote. Different states had actually Georgia, funnily enough, was one of the first states in the 1800s to give women the right to inherit, which was huge. People thought that was crazy. So if your father left you an inheritance before that, it would go to your brothers to manage for you or your husband.
Yep.
Georgia was one of the first states in like the mid 1800s to say no, women can rightfully manage their own estates, which was just wild. So people who think the South is backwards, actually, Georgia was one of the first to recognize women as being human beings. But even at that, we're talking up in the Midwest. There was nothing Emma could do. Like, what could she do? We don't even know if Emma fully believed. Like, I know they probably preached she fully believed, but did she fully believe? Because we know
they also teach that she's her only. For a long time they taught that she was the only wife, and she ended up going with her son and starting the LDS church.
Yeah,
but she has her own line of mysteries and generational stuff that we haven't really touched on. We've touched on Joseph Smith's magical line, but we'll definitely have to touch on her stuff too.
Yeah.
I think that she is a victim of him also.
Oh, absolutely.
She had to, but she also was given a lot. He gave her the power to control the Relief Society, which is something that Brigham Young took away as soon as he took over. They had their own money. They were actually helping the community. So she did a lot of good.
Yeah, so I'm telling you guys, if you between Joseph and Brigham, you're going to pick Joseph. Even if he's burning down newspaper, you're going to pick Joseph. And I know that even when he introduced polygamy, didn't he say that he gave Emma the right to decline a woman? Like, consolation prize? Like, doesn't the first wife have to approve?
That's what they say, but
paper,
really he married a lot of women before she even knew about it.
Right. You gotta like feel pain for her for that. Like, again, what could she have done? And I would love to get into her line with old Joe's son. And there was one of his sons that ended up in an insane asylum. Like, there had major mental health problems, which makes you wonder. Mental health problems can happen, like, but it makes you wonder, like, what was going on with him. I know
she ended up she had like 11 kids and lost a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them did not make it. She lost a pair of twins. And then there were another set of twins that were born by somebody else in the Mormon community. And she ended up taking those twins to kind of help with her pain because the mom died during birth. So they had both of these twins. Then one of those twins died. So there is just so much heartache that she had to have felt her whole life. And
She had to
everything
go
that
and
she went
marry
through.
Joseph, didn't she? No, I mean,
Right?
how much control do people even have back then? I mean, that's what we have to remember is a lot of times these women were just surviving because they
Mm-hmm.
couldn't up. Martin Harris's wife, is he the real rich one that funded? She is like, this is my spirit animal. She
Yeah,
told
because
him,
she
she
took
was
the
like, this is
116
fucking
pages.
bullshit. She was like, you're
Yeah.
being played. Joseph like wanted his money to help him produce it, and he showed it to his wife, and she like burned it because she was like, "This is bullshit." Like she kind of like
Well, she lost it, is what happened. She lost the pages, and Martin got in trouble. Like they had to pause doing any more dictating or revelations because God was mad. And so they took a few months off during this time. And I think Joseph was trying to figure out, do I rewrite it? Because which is probably what she did. If he rewrote it, then she was going to come out and say, look, he's a
it's
fraud because
different.
it's not the same
It's
thing.
different. Yeah. I want to know about more about her too, because I was like, she
Mhm.
was sassy. She was like, "You're a fool" to her rich ass husband. She was like, "You can't see this guy is fucking playing you. Where are the gold tablets, huh? Where are they? Moroni? What? Okay, uh-huh. What drugs are you drinking with him? You know, there are some really fascinating characters that kind of hover around Joseph Smith that deserve their time in the spotlight
Yeah,
because
whole episode all on their own.
I
Yes.
mean, like I'm telling you, I know Hollywood's corrupt and they're probably in the pocket of the LDS church, but let's be real. If there's any rogue Hollywood reporters or Hollywood scriptwriters, I'm telling you, do a live action like real story, like non-favorable story of Joseph Smith. I promise you it will be a blockbuster. Because the
Yep.
LDS version is bullshit. It's like sunny days, butterflies and rainbows. Oh,
Because if it's bad, it's contention and it's of the devil.
shucksy shucksy, we just got kicked out of another town because we have the truth. Oh shucks. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm terrorizing these people. You know, and Emma's my only wife.
Yep.
And no, I think if you showed the actual story, the real story of old Joe, his connection to masonry, everything. The wife, Martin Harrison's wife, being like, "You're a fool." Oh man, you would have a blockbuster on your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Make it rough and ragged like it was in the 19th century. I think it
That
would
would be
be.
very interesting.
I
Yes.
would watch it. I would absolutely. I mean, Larene and I will help you cast. How about that?
Yeah. We can even help you with some of the writing since we're doing all this
Exactly.
research.
We'll come and produce it and direct it. Well, you guys, okay, this is going to take us. There's so much to go into, so we'll do the back half of that talk next time. We're breaking it up, guys. We were going to do more with Kresha too. I understand, like this book literally is what triggered the death, the unaliving of her nephew, which is why it's important for us to talk about it because it's. I mean, there's even more. Lorraine, you've told me even more cases of people running off with their kids because
Right
of
now, there is an epidemic right now of women who are kidnapping their kids and running across the country or to another country. Like it is wild what is happening. I truly believe that the Frankie's kids are here today because one of them got out.
Russell
They
escape.
are,
Yeah.
yep, they were doing the same things back then with their kids too. So they were dark, and just because they're kids trying to figure out themselves, it's
It's
wild.
crazy. And nobody, it's crazy, you guys. Don't. If you read this book, please read it from an academic. I mean, obviously, you have your free will choice. I do believe this book is a grimoire. I can explain more about why I believe that as I'm reading it. It's very persuasive. It's very egocentric. I think it is. You know, he talks about in this book about like alcohol bringing in spirits and all. You know, the hokey pokey bringing in spirits. But I'm like, actually, it's this book. It's this
Yep.
book that if you allow it, now again, books are books, don't be afraid of it. Like I don't, you know, it's just a book, like you give it the power. And I would read this in the bath, like we were up in the mountains, I was reading this back and Todd was like, I'd be in the bathtub shut the fuck up, get the fuck out. Like, I was just like in the bathtub screaming at the book.
I love it.
I was like, this is worse than the Bible. Like, give me Moses any day. Like, this is worse. So anyway, guys, but is there anything you want to conclude with today? We got to get your channel set up so people can follow you.
I'm getting there. I'm getting close, but
Awesome.
thank you for doing this. I just love that we're having
Absolutely.
these conversations because it needs to be talked about. I think it came into the light back in when all of these cases broke, but I feel like it's kind of being suppressed again. And it's still very, very much alive and well in the LDS church. There is a faction. There are multiple factions, let me just say. Like I said, there is a large range of orthodoxy in Mormonism. And you could be sitting next to somebody who believes these things, and you could be sitting next to somebody else who believes in the preppers, but don't believe in the other person doesn't believe that.
Yeah.
So it's a wide variety, and people need to know what's happening.
Well, as tentacles, as we were saying, I do actually, and we're going to do even more shows on that, like as we build up about QAnon, about the truther movement, and about all these things that I absolutely believe is being controlled, whether you know it or not. You might be somebody who doesn't like the Mormon faith. You're a Baptist. But if you read this book, you're going to realize a lot of the ideas that you've been sold from controlled opposition in the truther movement are coming from this. It's very serious, and lives are at stake. And I think Tom Harrison, I mean, I go back and forth between empathy for him and anger at him. I guess two things can be true, right? He can be a victim, but he's also a perpetrator. And I think he's got a lot of explaining to do. I know.
Well, and part of the problem with this is that they're not giving a lot of prophecy right now with the 12 and the prophet seers and revelators that we do have. So when books like this come out, the members are looking for something like this, somebody else to tell them these visions that were there in the beginning that have kind of fallen off. But the church is still endorsing it, and it's still putting it out there through somebody else so that they don't have to be the ones for it to come back onto.
Right. It's a
That's where it's all, yeah, that's where it all boils down to, is that they are never going to be the ones in the wrong. It's always somebody else's fault. So they haven't even really, I don't think they've excommunicated Lori. I don't,
No.
I think I've heard that they've done that to Chad, but I don't think that they've excommunicated Ruby
We
or
don't have the
Jody.
newsletter, do we? Show us the newsletter.
And right. And all of these people are in the same group, learning the same things and feeling specialer than everybody else because they are having visions and visions of glory.
Because God lives on a planet named Collab, right? And that, even though again, there's lots with the Christian church I think is bullshit, but it's safer in mainstream because you don't have this in mainstream. You just have to fear the church ladies.
Right.
Praying for your ass.
Yeah, no, this is a whole other beast.
A whole different. But I thank you for doing this. I know this is hard to do, and guys, let us know if there are things if you're like me, if you're never Mormon, and there are things that are confusing in the book that we've let us know in the comment section so we can cover it. We are looking at getting this. I know we've talked about Larene getting StreamYard so that we can do this live, so that we can get comments. It's easier with StreamYard. I've put it off. Not only because it's so expensive, but also it makes you look really old. It just does. It adds wrinkles to your face.
Oh.
But I'm just gonna get over it, and we're just gonna do it. And the first time Todd was ever on StreamYard, I forgot to tell him that it's weird. And he got off. He was really depressed. He was like, "Do I really look at that?" I was like, "No." I was like, "Oh no, sorry, that's just StreamYard. That's just StreamYard. It makes everyone look old. That's just." StreamYard, that's not how you look. But it's easier to simulcast, and so when Larene has her channel, we can do simul from mine and hers, or we can watch from both. When Kresha suggested it as well with her channel, we can do simulcasting, and then we can take questions from you guys, and also comments, because sometimes viewers bring up really good points that we didn't notice, very good perspectives. And so that allows us to do that. for you guys. So that should be coming soon. We're working on it. I put Todd in charge of that because I'm terrible at technology anyway. So I feel like a boomer. I'm like, I don't want to learn that. I don't want to learn like new apps. Like what? So I'll go with Spencer to his celestial world and just, no, just kidding. I don't have to deal with this shit anymore. So that's coming too, guys. We do have memberships now on Todd and my channel where we are going to be doing private, I think the first Saturday of every month we'll probably simulcast again for both our members from both our channel, where we can do members only lives so that you can ask private questions to Lou. That's the reason why we're doing it, because we even had that yesterday with our show. There were some questions that Lou only gave a vague answer because it's dangerous sometimes to ask really personal questions. Lou doesn't want to, I understand, to put too much information out publicly. And so we can put it behind a members only. And so that protects your private information. But as far as live general stuff, we'll continue doing that with Lou. So Lou's not going away from the public domain. It's just for those who want more private interaction. And Lou's so different from the Mormons. He's like, get in yourself, be grounded in your body. Very different, isn't it, from what we see coming from a lot
go
of
go do the work. Don't just sit in the corner in your closet and try to enter a portal. Actually get in your body and do the exercises and get your body strong.
You can't passively, one thing he said, you can't passively move through your karma. It's not possible, right? So ask Joseph Smith. It's not possible. He didn't passively move through his karma, did he? He went straight to the evil. So anyway, guys, well, I thank you, Larene, and we will continue this. Again, ask us questions below. Please share this if you can. YouTube does like to kind of shadow ban me because we were saying this last week. I think other Visions of Glory people kind of keep it just in this crazy group of Mormons, where Larene and I were like, actually, this has bigger tentacles. This is MK Ultra. This is, and so I think YouTube's like, shh. So thank you guys for sharing it. Give it a like, comment. Even if you have nothing to comment, just show us where you're from, your flag. Yeah. So anyway, well, thank you, Larene.
Thank you. We'll do this again soon.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.